All right, thank you for coming. We have another great presentation here from Disney Parks. They're going to talk about how they use CA PPM as a tool to support their PPM processes across the enterprise. And so I'd like to introduce Jim Provis to come up and tell us the Disney Parks story. Jim?
Thank you, John. Hey, thank you. Today I would like to briefly share with you our journey with the CA PPM tool and how we're looking to leverage the tool to actually drive standardization across our entire enterprise portfolio of projects to achieve practices that are consistent, repeatable, and predictable. Through the talk today, hopefully I'll be able to share with you a context in terms of the type of portfolio of projects that we actually manage and oversee in parks and resorts, a shifting focus of technology that we see as a trend in the industry, our personal journey in utilizing the tool, a sandbox environment that we actually established to help us actually ensure that our configuration was driving the results that we needed and the value we wanted out of that. Our vision of the tool going forward, and finally, as time permits, to share with you some lessons learned or best practice advice, at least from the perspective of the Disney Parks and Resorts organization. In order to understand our journey, I want to first provide a little bit of context around our organization. The Walt Disney Company is a broad and diverse organization comprised of 5 main segments. Our journey with the CA PPM tool is really around the Parks and Resorts segment. Hopefully you notice some brands up there. One thing I will want to call out, you'll notice that Lucasfilm happens to be in our Studios segment. I'm from Parks and Resorts, so no, I have no inside information on Star Wars, so sorry about that up front. Part of it, in terms of Parks and Resorts, rather than speak to what makes up this segment, I thought it would be easier to actually show you.
All around the world, every single day, we set out to make magic on land and at sea, in destinations around the globe, all with one goal in mind: to welcome our guests. Since we began this amazing journey, over 2.5 billion people have traveled along with us. And yet, after all these unforgettable moments, we're just getting started.
As you can see, we have a great deal of magic that we create in parks and resorts. And it is shown also in the diversity of the portfolio of technology projects to make that magic happen. We actually, in terms of our portfolio, handle things from A to Z, or as we like to call, from Ariel to Zerg, from deep under the sea to the far reaches of space. Our portfolio of projects runs the gambit from attraction maintenance and safety, door lock systems, point of sale transactions, resort reservations, table management optimization for all of our restaurants, magic bands, which seamlessly integrates ticket media, charging privileges, fast pass opportunities, and dining reservations, to the Wi-Fi connectivity that supports our digital applications and media for our guests in our park. And also to our zoological sciences in terms of the systems and applications that we leverage in support of providing health services and care to the animals that actually live within our park framework. Anything that you can think of, we basically have a technology project to design, support, or enhance that. That is the gambit of the Parks and Resort footprint. In addition to the variability in the types of projects that we support, we also see an industry trend in the shifting focus of technology. Technology used to be easier than it is today. We've seen as an industry in the past, many organizations were focused primarily on sustainment or siloed work supporting a single business unit. Today and in the future, technology and the projects we deliver are actually a strategic asset, fully integrated in end-to-end processes, using innovation to drive competitive advantage. Further defining the need for more standardization. The variability should be in the scopes of the projects, not the way we actually deliver and manage them. In order to address the growing need for standardization, our PMO actually was refined with a renewed charter and focus on delivery and execution, where project management is actually seen as a core competency of our technology organization. As a starting point, when we looked across our portfolio of projects, what we found is that every project was defined as a custom event or capability. When you looked at that variation, it was very difficult for the teams to compare that a project related to point of sale transactions could benefit or be run similarly to zoological support and sciences. They just didn't seem to fit. And so by the very nature, the scopes of our projects actually supported the organization believing everything was a unique or custom event. Through that time period then, we found a wide variety of tools and platforms that were supporting the way we ran our projects and capabilities. Within our PMO, we then found a need for, first and foremost, visibility. Sort of the adage that you can't manage what you can't see, you can't measure what you can't see, and you can't improve what you can't measure. And so part of it, one of our guiding principles was we need to have the visibility of everything in our portfolio to actually understand where are our investments occurring and how are we leveraging and balancing them, which would lead into our value optimization. How do we know that we're doing the right priority projects in the right order to optimize the value and return for our organization, maximizing on our limited resources in capital or talent or people or capacity? And that ultimately drove to standardization as a need, an intent to provide repeatable, predictable, common visibility and platforms so that way our executives, our teams, our individuals didn't have to relearn a new way to manage our projects. Essentially, it allowed us to indicate that the variability would actually remain in the types of projects we deliver, not in the foundational project management practices employed to execute those projects. From our user base in the PPM tool, we changed our optics and really wanted to focus that the most important user is actually the project manager, and then secondarily those support functions of the controllers, the planners, and the managers in our environment. Part of it, utilizing the CA PPM tool, was actually a journey for us. We've had this tool for over 6 years, but to be perfectly honest, we have had several various attempts and false starts in optimizing and utilizing the tool. Some contributing factors to our false starts really was a perception or belief that project management and financial management were seen as one and the same, so there wasn't a distinction. Part of our organization, and when we went in initially implementing the tool, we went in with a frame of reference from the financial side, and we thought that the financials were the driving factor. So we configured and customized it in a way to drive our financial reporting and cash flows. We also focused on bells and whistles first instead of the foundational information and content. We populated fields to make the reports look impressive and informational without understanding how are we using the data, how is it driving value, how is it actually propelling the project to actually execute and deliver on the results. Furthermore, one of our challenges we found over time is that we tried to replicate or mimic our accounting functions in the PPM tool. As many of our stakeholders were from our finance organization, what we found is that when they were dissatisfied with functionality coming out of SAP, they tried to mimic and recreate it and deliver what they needed out of the portfolio management tool. And so part of it creating a false optic in terms of how are the projects performing, because they were trying to compensate for things that they felt they weren't getting out of the appropriate platform. Through this, we ended up losing focus on what we were even trying to answer from our project management delivery, and assumed that implementing the tool would actually fix our problems. So it's sort of best-in-class tool. If we implement it, we'll all become experts at project management and our troubles will go away. False assumption all around. Even more so and more critical to us is we ended up customizing everything. The response or answer to our questions was, well, we can add another attribute to track that, and we can add another attribute to track that, to the point where we had more than 260 custom attributes on project setup alone. And people couldn't even remember what half those fields were for, or why they were populated, or what existed in the environment. Definitely a challenge with our false starts and capabilities. Part of it then we sat back and said, if we could do it over again, how would we do it differently? And we came to the realization that yes, we can do it over again. Utilizing a tool of this nature, and with those false starts, we wanted to actually challenge ourselves. So we went back and decided to start with what we were calling quick wins. Existing processes that we believed worked for us and our organization understood. For us at Parks and Resorts, that was really around status reporting, issues, risk register, change request, and schedule. The core blocking and tackling of project management. Part of it also is we decided to take a step back and leverage the expertise we had in-house. We have very competent and capable project managers. Let's tap into their knowledge of how should the tool be configured to provide support and direction for the projects they're executing. And also to look at what others had done. Project management has been around for over 60 years. There aren't a lot of new problems or issues out there. We all struggle with that commonality. So we had to take a step back and realize that we're not as unique as we think. The scopes and the types of projects that we work on definitely are unique, but the challenges of managing those projects are common and similar. And why don't we learn from other organizations and what they've already solved and leverage and start that and move forward in terms of that function. So how did we start over? At Disney Parks and Resorts, we actually leveraged what we're calling our sandbox environment. We actually stood up a separate environment and actually reverted back to a pure vanilla implementation of the CA PPM tool. We utilized custom attributes only where absolutely necessary, and we realigned our stakeholders in terms of our top priorities and what were we trying to achieve in implementing the PPM tool. The outcomes of this effort, we actually upgraded all of our environments to, at that time, the latest version 14.2. We standardized all our project types. We documented and simplified the OBS structure. We selected the CA PPM Gantt as a common project scheduling element so we could look across the entire portfolio with consistency and accuracy. Here's the big thing in terms of the roles. When we stepped back, we looked that we had over 616 custom roles defined that added complexity not only to the usability of the tool, but the security model to support it. Through our sandbox, we proved that we could get the same results and information by having only 15 common standard roles that we could function through. What a difference in terms of the optics and usability of the tool. Those significant custom attributes that we had, we found in the vanilla environment, we only needed 3 to actually deliver those core results and capabilities. What a great success in terms of getting back to the basics and leveraging and utilizing the tool as it's designed to drive functionality and features to excel at project management. And finally, we actually defined our financial system integration. Agreement across our stakeholders that SAP is our financial system of record, and that's different from effort and project management. They're related, but they are very different in terms of their approach. Our vision of the future for CA PPM at Disney is really that the PPM tool, counter to SAP, is our system of record for project effort. So we have a consistent platform to understand where is that investment of time and energy and the effort to deliver. The costs then get transferred and live and breathe in SAP, so we actually get both optics efficiently delivered for our organization. We also are looking at how do we monitor and support the adoption of the tool. It's not plug and play. You can't just put it in and expect everyone to move towards it. So we actually have to support that and drive through change management so we understand and can promote to our project managers and project teams the value of investing the time to support the tool and the functionality. Part of it also is it realizes that the tool evolves as the organization matures. So we did a baseline and looked at where are we at in our maturity. Implementing the tool doesn't immediately propel us to a level 5 proficient organization. That takes time and effort, so we need to roll out the functions aligned proportionally with the maturity level of our staff, our capabilities to drive success. Some quick lessons learned on our journey is really an understanding that at the end of the day, it's not about the tool at all. It's about the content within the tool and how the tool enables that content. And we can't lose sight of it. It's not about implementing and running Clarity PPM. It's how do we use that information effectively and efficiently to drive decisions, prioritize our effort, and deliver stellar results to our customers, to our business. Again, it's the system of record for project effort. They're related, but they're not the same, and that was a huge learning, particularly for our financial side of the house, because they're more concerned with when we pay the bills and what the cost is, but to project managers, we care more about how much effort did we expend and what's already been utilized and what's left to deliver those results. We also created a roadmap for our implementation and actually looked at implementing features and functions one at a time in order to understand and manage dependencies, but also to allow the organization to become competent and proficient in each function so they're not overwhelmed as we're trying to address scheduling and resource loading and task management and cost control and prioritization. All those components all at once can be overwhelming, so we're logically looking at a roadmap in terms of what is our capacity to absorb and support that information and how does it derive and show value. In hindsight for us at Disney Parks and Resorts, we realized that leading with the implementation of financials was probably not the most optimal solution. The good news is we learned through that process. When I said if we could do it over again, how would we do it differently? We are doing it over again, and we're taking those learnings and actually leveraging what we implemented in production and how do we apply that going forward to actually enable greater results and capability in terms of those functions. Part of it, some best practice advice. One of the things I would say is ensure that you build and document your processes first. Implementation of a tool like CA PPM will not fix a broken process. It may highlight and accentuate how poorly your process is defined and how broken it is. But again, occasionally you may get that pushback of the tool's not working, it's not functioning, when in reality you need to focus on getting your processes right first. Again, and I sound like a broken record, financial management, project management are not the same. It was such a critical learning for us, and it took us a lot of time to get folks to understand that. Don't want to lose sight of that, as it may be something that you're dealing with as well. For us, we need to lead with project management and focus on foundations. If we get the core correct and those basics and that blocking and tackling, we believe everything else will fall suit. Part of it also is to level set some expectations that this is a journey, not a one-time event. And you need to ensure that your executives understand the time it is going to take to create that proficiency. And it's not a one and done or a plug and play solution. Every company thinks they can do it better and they can go faster when they look at the metrics that come out of the industry. As a realization, I'll let you know, you're mistaken because we were mistaken. And part of it is look at that information, use it as a baseline, build from it. And realize that it may take multiple false starts and attempts to get it right, but that's okay. That's actually a great learning opportunity for you to get it right and understand not only the tool, but also insights into your organization and the delivery that you're trying to accomplish within the environment. So hopefully that was of interest.